Hi, everybody. It's very nice to see you. We're so happy that you joined us today. Um, Very nice to see you. I love seeing your videos. I understand some of you are not in a place where you can turn your video on, so that's okay. But it helps our engagement a little. So thank you if you do have your video on. That's awesome. Um, so welcome to Club Pre. Shall we hit the record button and then I'll. So this is being recorded, so that's another reason you might want to keep your video off. And so say hi to Belinda, part of the A team, who's here to help us today. You might have questions. Belinda's always making sure I'm telling you the right answer. So thank you, Belinda, for being here with me today. So welcome to Club Pre-Med. I'm Dr. Judy Ann Kellaway. I'm the Associate Dean for Admissions and Outreach here at the Long School of Medicine. And we had a little hiatus for these web chats, so I'm so happy to be back. It's a good topic today. I think we have some objectives set for you. I think you're going to hear some things that you've heard before. There's nothing wrong with repetition. And I hope that for all of you and all of your needs, you will find some point, some pearl that will really help you on your path. So we really love to help you. We realize how difficult the pre-med path is. It is not easy and it takes years and years, but we're here to help you. So let's go ahead and get started now. And there we go. And let me pull you all up. I'm not really great at multitasking, but I am going to pull the chat up, and at various points I'll address the chat too. And I do have the questions you've submitted. I think we're going to hit some of them in the presentation, and then I'm hoping to leave some time, but I'm a long talker and could talk forever, but I'm hoping to leave us some time for specific questions and answers. So making a robust application. So some of you, I think in recent weeks, I have visited your campus or you visited here, and I've given you sort of a different version, a different perspective on creating a strong application to medical school. This is a little different, approaching it just a little bit differently. So I'm going to tell you what successful applicants bring. Okay, they are very organized. I can help you with the organization. The discipline, they are very disciplined. I can't help you with the discipline. I can't find you and make you stay up an hour later or get you up an hour earlier to study extra for the physics part of that quiz tomorrow that you're not prepared for. You have to do the discipline. So getting organized and then applying discipline for your plan is a great thing. And I know some of us have to work on that, right? So try to be proactive about that. I have lots of stars around use reflection, and I'm going to tell you this gets overlooked. It's going to come up in some committee comments that I'm going to show you in a moment. Use reflection. Look at everything you've done, everything. This means you have to sit down in a quiet place and turn off gadgets and devices and just think from your heart and from your soul. Ask yourself a couple of main questions. I think three main things. What did I learn from this? What was valuable? What was meaningful? So that's a great way to start. Take anything that you've done and tell us about the meaning. You're going to ask me later in the Q&A, I'm a pharmacy tech. Is that good? I did this. Is that good? Should I put it in there? So the answer to all that is yes, all good things are good. But here's my example of a time I made a big mistake. And what you can do about it. I think you'll get the message. I was interviewing a young lady, and I had prepared and looked at the application, and this was in pretty recent years, and looked at the application, and I always highlight, circle, point out, or note some things that I want to talk about that are in the application, things that are in there already. But I often say, well, you get us started at this interview for Long School of Medicine. You get us started. What would you like to talk about? I did not have this item circled. So I want to tell you, this is my bad. Do not be offended if this is in your past, in your journey. She chose to talk about being a medical assistant. In my experience, I didn't have medical assistants in any of the practices I've been in. I've thought of it as kind of a lower level thing. I had not circled it to talk about. And I realized very quickly what a mistake I have made, because she said, I want to talk about this. She went on and on and on. It filled up the whole hour. Obviously, she had given this great thought and worked at it for quite a while. So she could tell me meaning. She was telling me about the patients that she met, how she loved seeing them long term, how the practice would give her more and more responsibilities. And she was saying this in a very humble way, that she had taken on more duties and more responsibilities in the work of the practice. She went on and on. I was completely blown away. I completely changed my mind about what a medical assistant position might be. Do you get my message? You could put down anything. You could put down something high value, like the things that a lot of people would say are high value, like scribing. But then you have to tell us what was valuable, what was meaningful, what are those lessons that you learned. Okay, you get it? So love like a nod. Okay, great. Or an emoji. So successful applicants have a variety of experiences. They are industrious. They're using their time well and doing lots of different things, able to express meaning. That's reflecting back to that big reflection neon thing up there. And they develop strong personal attributes that we can see. We can see in the writings in the application, and we can see in the personal statements, and we can see in the interview, of course, and in the letters of recommendation as well. So those are some successful applicants. Comments at committee that refer to a strong application are these comments here. This person has a heart of service. This person has reached out of their box, reached out of their comfort zone to learn about others. They are culturally aware and culturally sensitive. Sometimes the AAMC or the medical student competencies listed in various places says culturally competent. I think that's a kind of a cold word. It's more awareness and sensitivity and learning about the world and her people and people who are different from you. Okay, that's a big one. There's humility. A successful applicant, a strong application honors people. They might honor their role model, honor the doctor that they've shadowed, honor patients that they've had the pleasure of serving. You can see lots of interaction with people in their applications. That industry, creativity, they're dynamic. We'll talk about this. If you're shy, a little bit introverted, you may have to bring that enthusiasm. You may have to exaggerate even your passion for this path to medicine, in case you're a little on the quiet side. Re-applicants, a successful re-applicant has made improvement. They have seen what they needed to improve. And I think really a lot of people figure it out, what it is they need to improve. They've made improvements and they've continued healthcare, community service, and their personal growth, say in the extracurricular section. If you're thinking of things right now that you want to put in the chat for me to look at later as questions, I'm happy for you to do that. At some point, we'll go through those. Other comments from committee can be that the motivation is not clear. What does that take? There's reflection again. There's reflection. You need to make sure in your organization of time that you make time so that you can sit down and reflect on these things. they might have comments about getting out of their comfort zone, out of their box, out of their community. So that goes along with a characteristic maybe of a bit unidimensional and only working with people like you or in your community instead of like venturing out into the world. And another big red flag for us is that there are no patients or people mentioned in the essays, or even like in a community service section, for example. I ran the 5K, I earned money. So is earning money for breast cancer, is raising awareness of a problem and raising money for a cause, that's a good thing, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But there's no personal mention of a connection with human beings. And so that's a vital component. Other comments in the interview, for example, can't find the enthusiasm, lack of motivation, and the answers just seemed a little bit superficial. That's what started me thinking about telling you all about reflection, because there are too many times the committee member would say, "This is a great application. I was reading all these things. It sounded great." But the answers, when we had a conversation, the answers were just a little bit superficial. It is great to say that you want to help people. You love science. I bet 99.99 people have this at the top of their list. They want to help people and they love science, right? So that's great, but you need to move on from there and tell us more detail about those things that inspire you to do this path to medicine. And from re-applicants, sometimes we see no changes, like 0 changes. Not even the essay reworked or anything like that. No renewed activities. Deficiencies are not corrected. That's a big one. And the pathway just is not clear. There's an extra question in there, as some of you know, for non-traditional, and that is another place besides the essays where you could outline a path. You know, if you had if you're a career changer and had a career completely different than, it wasn't anything related to healthcare, tell us how that spark was lit. Tell us what happened to you to make you think that, okay, you wanted to switch gears. So those are some things that committee say. Sometimes I know that there are applicants, and this is meant to be for applicants and re-applicants. So I wanted to address some of these things about why no interviews, why no acceptance, why you didn't get any love in the last cycle. I say numbers 1, 2, 3. Numbers part 1 is just think of the statistics. There are 50,000 applicants in America every year, plus or minus, mostly plus. There are 20,000 something spots. So most people do not get into medical school in any given year, right? Do you see that? Right? So you know this, be prepared. It took me a while. It takes lots of people. We have people in our class every year who worked for 2 or 3 or 4 years to get into medical school. If it is a passion for you, if this is it for you, those years you'll fill with good things and you'll keep trying. Okay. We have been very good at telling people, get your application in early. I think all of you have heard that from various sources, your campus advisors and things like that. There's a big caveat here. It's much more important to have an application that you put reflection and thought into, okay? I've read, there are a couple every year. For every single item that is listed on the personal biography, they have said, here's what I learned, here's what I learned, here's what I learned. And it makes me smile because I love that message got out there, right? So it's good. You can open the application in May and get it turned around pretty quickly, especially if you're prepared and you do things now that can be put directly into your application, all of those reflection pieces. So you can do it early, but make sure it's quality, okay? Numbers part 3 is sometimes people don't want to face the metrics. Okay. Let's have some ideas about tackling a low GPA or a low MCAT. Know what your state and national averages are. You can look at the averages for each individual school, but we have a range usually. So know what those are. And so I almost said you should aim. So you know what you should aim for? When was the last time you took a test? Did you take a biology test and aim to make a C or aim to pass with a 72? Of course you didn't. You were aiming for an A. You were working for an A. So your MCAT, for example, you are aiming high. All right. And anyway, you can do it. MCAT's another topic, happy to go into later with the questions. Sometimes because maybe of a reflection piece, people look like a little bit of an underseller. So they're listing things. We're not getting a lot of meaning and value maybe in or detail in the essays or the item descriptions. But all this stuff comes out in an interview, so that's great. But if you have a little bit of lack in the application and an interview, that's gonna be a little bit of a problem. And then there are things that can happen in the interview. That's a whole nother presentation. There's a previous one on the YouTube channel, and about interviewing and how to bring strength in the interview process as well. A lot of times it is a person who's shy or not comfortable talking, and you just need to practice, because that can be remedied easily. But well, I say easily, but I mean with practice. And then other things, as previously mentioned, like your things in your application, personal statement, violations. Rarely those things can cause a screening committee to sort of pause. We'll go through some specifics also. So a list here of general tips. Apply in your year. So if you don't quite have well-roundedness, a great academic path, strong experiences that have grown great personal attributes in you. Maybe it's you're not quite finished shadowing or scribing, or something new is coming up that's really going to be super. Maybe it's not your year to apply. If a lot of things are in your planned section, maybe it's not your year. People get very, very not anxious, excited and enthusiastic about their application year, and you want it to happen, but maybe it's better to have some quality in there. I'm going to mention holistic review. I don't think I've mentioned it yet. You have heard the term, okay, right? You've heard the term. It is a balance, strength in metrics, strength in experiences that you have sought out to learn about healthcare and medicine and patients and serving people. So, and those experiences then grow in you strong personal attributes that we are looking for in a physician. We'll go into detail in a second. So if all of those things are ready, then it's your year. Luke 12:48. I don't know a lot of Bible quotes, but I know this one. Although I'm always having to look up the number. It is, to whom much is given, much is expected. So when you come from a place where you've had lots of resources around you, I call it the mom, dad, aunt factor. For example, if you have healthcare right there at your fingertips in your family, we're looking for you to bring maybe a higher level of understanding about what happens, a little less naive, a little more sophisticated about your perspective on what is this you're going to do with your life in medicine. So look at your background and your resources and use them. A key question always for re-applicants is, what have you done to, and this is on the TMDSAS application. I'm not sure, it's probably in the AMCAS application too. What have you done to improve your application? You have to address deficiencies. You have to decide if it's in the metric area, experiences, or personal attributes that may have come across in your personal statement or the interview setting. you want to describe. I love that a couple of you asked, how am I going to write a stronger activity description? So this is great. I'm going to show you some examples. Describe the activities in the best possible way. Don't oversell, don't exaggerate or repeat a lot. We're going to forgive you for repeating in the right places. If you have had a job in healthcare, you may put that under employment and you may repeat that in healthcare. That's okay. But my Red Cross example is an applicant years ago who had Red Cross leadership, Red Cross award for volunteer of the year, Red Cross under healthcare, Red Cross under community service. You see, unidimensional, right? Do some other things. So repeat in the right places. I love the shoebox method. I think some of you have heard me talk about this. We can drop some resources for you in the chat, or just email me or our team anytime and we can help you get organized. I don't think I'm addressing that a lot in this presentation, but get some structure, know what's in the application. I've got some resources for you if you want to read all that stuff. So you're ready to fill in all of the questions as you hit them in the application. You really have to do a critical self-assessment, and I think this is where a lot of people aren't quite there yet. And so people will say, gosh, I just didn't have time to do research, and that's why I didn't get any interviews. And maybe they have an MCAT that's this happens quite frequently, and that's why I'm using it as an example, an MCAT that's several points below a state or national average. So lots of schools do not consider no research a deal breaker, but they're looking for strength in the metrics as well. So don't, and nobody wants to take the MCAT more than once, right? Am I right? You just I'm sorry, but you might have to just get some advice from those of us who took it several times, and we'll help you through that. But you need to do a really critical and real self-assessment if you're reapplying. Everything, all good things are good. Everything counts, large and small. So in whatever log you are using, make sure if you took over for the Sunday school teacher because she got sick, and you did the nursery school at church one Sunday, and it was just a couple of hours and it was a no big deal, but that's community service and you should write it down. So write down everything, log everything you can think of. You might want to combine some of the smaller things, or there will be things in your log that just did not rise to the value that you or we are looking for. So you leave those things out. All good things are good. Some are higher value. What's my caveat there? You have to tell us the value, like the young lady did who was a medical assistant. Okay, so we'll talk about high value things. So know the high value ones, but otherwise tell us the value. Don't let us miss it. It's your journey, and there are a million ways to get down this path. Do not look around you and get anxious because your friend got in, your friends are getting interviews or whatever it is. This is your path, and nobody can do this like you can do it. And you don't stand out by doing things that everybody else is doing. You stand out by making the most of your path. Okay. I think I'm doing okay on time. These are no admissions components. Know what the cycle looks like. Know what schools to which you're applying. Know what their components of the process are. There are some videos on the channel about, for example, this whole interview process, and I do talk about developing attributes and skills to ace the MMI, a regular traditional interview, video interviews, and all those kinds of things. I want a little applaud because Long School of Medicine is the only school in Texas, I think, right, Belinda, that we don't have a secondary. So far, so good. So you're welcome. And there's that holistic review I wanted to mention. Okay, strong metrics, experiences, and attributes. It's a three-legged stool. If one of those legs is a toothpick, You know, if you've got lots of experiences, but you come off as arrogant or overly confident about all this, that leg is not going to be strong enough to hold the weight in a stool. So that's why I use that comparison. Walking through the application, just so you know, okay, I'm going to take the time to say this in brief. When you get organized, I suggest maybe I'll just make a video about this, but put a folder on your desktop, start gathering every single thing that's related to your application in that folder on your desktop, your transcripts, your, look up they're going to want your high school information. Where is it located? How many kids in the class? Where were you ranked? Do you have your SAT, all that stuff? Transcripts from every semester right there, because you're going to have to list everything: the institution, the college, the course number, all the things. Okay, so get all that stuff already. We'll see a little profile about you and your demographics. Photos can sometimes almost be a deal breaker. Like occasionally we see something that's pretty inappropriate, but think about, we do not use the photo. I won't spend a long time on it, but when advisors and admissions committee people get together, we could go on and on and on and on and on about the photo that you all submit. When you do not submit it, so we know facial recognition or identification of you. And when I look at a photo in an application, I picture me bringing my mom to the ER or bringing my sons at one of their ER visits. Everybody is scared. We're concerned. We don't know what's going on. I need to meet a warm, friendly, kind doctor who's going to take really good care and calm us down and give us the help we need. So what am I looking for in that photograph? I'm looking for attention to detail. I'm looking at posture, at demeanor. Yes, it's just a snapshot, but I can see a warm, friendly face. If I can see a smile, maybe a professional shirt, a tie. I tell you, if you wear a jacket and a tie, people are going to comment positively on your photo. So that's a nice thing. People say, and for women or whoever wears a suit and tie, for professional dress, people will say, what a nice photo. That doesn't get you in, but it doesn't hurt. Enough about that. We get your email. Don't make occasionally we see like goofy emails. We're seeing all this and we're noting every detail that you have worked for all these years on. So make them all strong. We see your academic history. We see your essays, personal statement, the qualities that you bring to create a diverse student body. If you have to report a violation, we are looking for remorse. We're looking at the violation, but more important than a misstep is how you handled it. Here's reflection. What did you learn from it? What did you learn from that misstep? What did you learn from that mistake? Where is the remorse here that we could see? And you have to be honest, of course. And the personal biography, these bullet points here, we're going to see again in just a moment. Your 3 essays are explain your motivation to seek a career in medicine. I think the actual thing then says, be sure to include the value of your experiences that prepare you to be a physician. This is crucial. And what we mean is, what people have you run into along the way? Who have you helped? Who have you learned about that was not like you? What did you get out of those human interactions? So that's what that means. And then this one, please describe your personal characteristics, background, talents, skills, etc., that would add to the educational experience of others. This is a beautiful place to put out of the box, out of your comfort zone, what I have learned about people who are not like me. It's a beautiful place to put those things. And then lastly is there anything else that you haven't had a chance to address in any other section that you want to put here? Okay. Yes, if you need to look at the prompt and answer the prompt with the few cues I just gave you. Use examples, talk about people, You don't have to waste time saying, I changed that. Don't waste characters saying, I changed the name. This isn't the real name. We don't really, that's not what we care about. We care about the story that you're telling us. Demonstrate your personal attributes in the essays. I'm going to show you the list. You probably know a list, you know, your humility, your kindness, your organization, your communication skills, your resilience, your passion, your motivation. That's on another recording on the YouTube channel about personal statements, more detail there. And yes, reapplicants, you need to redo. You've had a year since an application, at least, so you want to rework. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Your journey is the same, punctuated by, you know, more experience, I think. So I think it's not that hard to redo it. Here we are back to the experience section. They will ask you for college experiences. They will give you, you have to list a lot of things, the dates, the places, the hours, the total hours, and then a description where you have used reflection to tell us about that item. They also give you, you may select 3 of any of your activities that you're listing here, and they give you more characters. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how many more, but you get another nice section if you need more time to explain the meaning in things. I'm going to show you these are real applicants. Okay, so these are honors and awards. Honors and awards. This person was a distinguished scholar, Dean's List, excellence in summer research. Anything where you stand out, you got something that not everybody else got, should be listed in the honors and awards. You have academic and non-academic. So if you're a writer, a poet, I had a person who did puns for a hobby. He won a pun contest. So if you're a sports person and your team went to regionals or whatever that is, if you're a musician and progressed through advancing roles or advancing accomplishments in music, you should list those things here. Do not undersell yourself. So think of all these things, write them down, see if you want to include them. For leadership, this person was an officer in a health profession society. If you don't have leadership officer position, you can use this spot and other places to tell us about your leadership skills. Why do we ask you about leadership? Why do we even have that section? For the sake of time, I'll tell you that if you think about the qualities you think of when you think of a good leader, they overlap a lot with those qualities that a good physician might have. Good communicator, somebody you can trust, somebody has you or the team's best interest at heart. They care, they're organized, they can see problems, they're flexible, and they're good at problem solving to make things progress for the team or the patient, right? So that's why we want to know leadership, your leadership qualities. This person did have research, melanoma research and oncology research, healthcare, hospital volunteering, shadowing in several different areas. Look at this hospital courier, like they might have had a job. Yes, so if you look at the work section, there's hospital courier, then community service, hospital. I think that was probably not a good place to repeat that, but they were fine to repeat it in the healthcare section. Not a deal breaker in this situation. But then extracurricular, I love this: piano, art, tennis, cooking, food blog, yoga, meditation. Would you have put art down there? Would you put crafting? Would you put baking? Things that you enjoy and do on a regular basis, do that. Put them down here. So when I look at an application, it's a medical school application. I kind of know there's going to be healthcare and community service and some other things. But in the extracurricular section, I'm excited. I like to read that first because I don't know what to expect here. I don't know. It could be all kinds of things. So this is your chance to tell us, who are you? You know, when you're not studying or trying to learn things about being a doctor, who are you? What do you do? What do you enjoy doing? So there's one example. Here's another one. Scholarships in an honor society, an honor Pre-Med Society research scholar, did some research. Look at all the leadership. So now we see somebody's expertise might be in a leadership area. They might use their medical education and go into administration or academic medicine and things like that with a strong leadership dossier like this. Healthcare, great, at a couple of different hospitals, a job at scribing, very high value, extracurricular, none. So I'm a little disappointed, but I see tons of leadership. So I think that's how this person is going to develop. And I think if I or other advisors in our office, and many had gotten to them, they would have put fun things like their hobby at crafting or origami or grilling. They like to, get outside and grill stuff or something. But so I was disappointed there's nothing, but it's not a deal breaker because they have some good things in other places, mission trips, soup kitchen. The Top Scholars program obviously was involved in doing some research work as a nanny research scholar and scribing, which they also did put there in healthcare. Here's another one, Dean's List. What do I want to point out here? I have safety, there's leadership. This is like some research there, lots of different healthcare activities, homeless clinic, volunteer, some things in this country, some things in Iran, community volunteer in there. Looks like maybe their community is an Iranian community. Maybe that's their culture background. So maybe that's where that comes from, dancing and running, and then work at Costco, tutoring research coordinator. I want to talk, so are you with me? You're getting some ideas flowing, I hope. Medical scribe. So what is wrong with this picture? Happy for you to use the chat. I'm, for the sake of time, going to just like tell you the answer to some of these questions I'm going to ask you. What's wrong with this? So medical scribe, high value, by definition, you are trained to be a part of the medical team with important responsibilities to take care of a patient. So that's a great, great activity. Description. They used their 350 characters to tell me this. A medical scribe works closely with the physician to document patient information. Working as a scribe provided experience with using electronic health records and learning the terminology. Not the best answer. Do we all know what a scribe is? We all, trust me, everybody reading your medical school application knows what a scribe is. Do not spend one space, one character telling us what a scribe is. What are you going to tell us? What you learned, what was valuable, what was meaningful, right? Those are the big three things. For everything you list, you could at least try to think of something. Here's a volunteer. I don't know that MD Anderson has a location in Muleshoe, but it's a good example. Anyway, help direct. This is a volunteer at a hospital, right? Help direct patients to their appointments and also answered questions. So it's good that they did it. This is a pretty low level description. Good, better, best. Good, better, best is one of my mottos. It's good. It's good you did hospital volunteering. Where's the reflection? Where's the meaning, value, and lessons learned here? As opposed to provided comfort, hope, and support to patients and families. What does that now tell you about this person? What changed? I know personal attributes about this person. This person, the other way, they might have lots of care and devotion to humankind, to people that they run into, but I don't see it in that description. Provided hope, care, and comfort and support, enhancing my ability to communicate. And this is a real one. And to show compassion in challenging situations, demonstrated ability to counsel and help create a positive environment. So what this person did is they took, maybe you're thinking hospital volunteer. I've done that. I've shown people, I've taken their wheelchair down the road to radiology. But think of the bigger value in those little acts of kindness that you do in that activity. Do you get it? Good example. I like that one. But you get it, right? Are you tired of me already? Okay. Are you getting it? Okay. Here's another one. Served as a and there are good words in there. Liaison between the pharmacist and doctors. This is a courier. This is that courier experience to ensure medication was delivered in a timely manner to the appropriate rooms, communicated with doctors and pharmacists and nurses, and resolved issues quickly. Look at that. That's excellent. So think about, you got to dig into the details of the experiences that you've done, right? To remember times maybe you helped on the problem solving, or, you know, had to kind of act quickly in something or another. Worked in small teams. This is Project Cure. Like, from that description, I would not know what that is. Don't know what that is. So your description has to tell us, like scribing, you don't need to tell us what it is. But Project Cure, I don't know that I know what that is. Worked in small teams to organize and distribute donated items to be transported to underserved communities or countries. Learned how to make an impact when working on a team. So this person was gathering supplies for one of those medical supply missions. But look what they learned and what was valuable and meaningful. They were in teams. They were learning. They organized. They distributed. They worked on a team. They communicated effectively. Followed the guidance of others. Do you see how they took it to a new level? Awesome, right? Awesome. But this takes time. Worked with a team of 40 people to prepare meals and essential items, taught me the importance of collaborating with others. Frequently assigned as a team leader. Took on responsibility. Okay, I think that those were good examples I pulled out for you. I hope you got something out of that. My favorite part, as I think I've said before, is the part that I often go to first, because I want to know, who are you? I know you want to be a doctor. I know you're headed for medicine, but like, who are you? So here's where we talk about the personal attributes a little bit. This list is a simple list of 10. These are the personal attributes that are uncovered when you take the Casper exam. You should not take the Casper exam like you're going in for like a glucose test or a pregnancy test, a blood test of some sort, right? You should think about this. There are some schools, some programs actually, that take a list of personal attributes. This one's from the Casper. You should, on your to-do list, look up AAMC medical student competencies. These are the things we're looking for. Collaboration, communication, the things that we brought up before in the previous examples. Empathy, equity. Who are you learning about? How are you learning about people who are different from you? Ethics, motivation, problem solving, professionalism, resilience, and self-awareness. It's a simple list. There are programs that ask their students in those programs to take a look at this list. How are you? How would you rate yourself on these things? Right? If you think that maybe you've got some room to be a better communicator, how are you going to work on that? You know what some people do? I tell some stories there on the other videos, but you could, if you want to be a better communicator, maybe you have a fear, like 90% of the population, of public speaking. You could take a debate class or join Toastmasters and learn to speak on your feet a little bit better. When you work on these things, you can tell us that you've worked on these things. All right. That is my point about telling you about personal attributes. Back to shyness or people who are introverted. You could say, I'm just shy. This is how God made me. I'm an introverted person. I'm still going to do my best to be a great doctor. Or maybe you could understand that it might be something that you could improve upon, that it would make you a better physician. If you're making yourself a better person, you're making yourself a better future physician. And it can be in any area, something like this. I cannot think, for example, of a better way to show anybody that you're an empathetic person than to be a caregiver, going in early, staying late, helping a family with somebody who has extra needs in the home, to help the family or that person get on with their day. I cannot think of a better way to demonstrate empathy than the crisis text line. Some of you I know have that in your biography already. If you're on call and it's 3 o'clock and somebody needs you, it's a life at stake sometimes. So think about those personal attributes. Holistic review, you know the 3 components. You work on your grades, don't you? Of course you do. And you're going to study for that MCAT, aren't you? Yes, you work on the metrics component. Do you work on experiences? Do you know, I think you know in your mind, you need to reach out and get healthcare experiences and leadership, develop yourself as a leader and serve because it feels good. You can't do it in a healthcare way right now, but you can serve people in a human way. So, you're working on experiences, but do you work on your personal attributes? And I'm here to challenge you and say, yes, you can. I call it a personal growth plan and have seen so many students do this. We love in that extracurricular section to see people who say, I am teaching myself Spanish. You don't even have to be fluent. You don't have to teach yourself until you're like an expert, but tell us what you're working on. I am working on my communication skills. I think I could, I have a little bit, I'm shy, don't really like communicating with people. So I'm working on my communication skills. You can list that if you're attacking it as a plan and working on something on a regular basis. You should log it. You should keep track of it, and you should tell us about it. Okay. So what are things that you need to improve upon? What would you like to do better? Or what new thing would you like to do? That list on the right is just a million things. Do you think maybe you should be more grateful on a more regular basis? Do that gratitude activity where at the end of the day, you write down 3 great things that happened to you that you're grateful for today. Running into a friend, getting a nice email, doing something, doing a random act of kindness. Are you a smiling person? If you are not a smiling person, I think you should be a smiling person, because a physician walking into a room, we want that doctor greeting us with a warm, friendly smile, right? So just look, do you need to work on procrastination like me, or other things? Those are just some examples. You set the time, you say Sundays at 3 p.m. For 30 minutes, I'm going to look at my free apps and I'm going to start learning Spanish with one of these, great free apps that I've got. Okay. Teach yourself. What about music? What about hobbies? What did you always want to play? Ukulele is like, I think the ukulele would be so easy. 4 strings, YouTube, $25 on eBay, and you could play some little tunes. Have you always wanted to play tennis? Find a friend and ask them to teach you on a regular basis. Get a group together. Okay. If you already have a hobby, let me see what's next here. Yeah. If you already have a hobby, power it up. So I don't think you would ever put, I got so many examples. I don't think you would ever put that you like to go to movies on a medical school application. Right? It just doesn't sound like it's not rising to the power oomph of a medical school application. But what if you took that pastime and you did something on a regular basis to learn about, for example, what are the roles on the credits at the end of the movies? Who are those people? What does the best boy do? Does it make a what does the director do? What difference does it make if you've got a good actor, a good actress? Why do you need a director? You could research something like that and explore more, and then it could be a thing. It could be a thing for you. Anyway, I think you get the idea. If you are a reader and you like books, why not pick an author? Oh, you could do this with movies too. Pick a director of a movie that you just loved and read all of that. Watch all of those movies by that director. Pick a book that you love and read all of that author's books. That's kind of a fun project. If you keep track of it and you are doing these kinds of things to improve yourself, then you can tell us about those, and they will be of high value in your application, because we see you working on things. So it's question time. I think I answered the question about how do we write stronger activity? Thank you for asking that. I'm glad that was already, somebody must have asked last time, because I sought out those examples for you. What would you like to know more about? Oh, yeah, that's good. Thank you for asking again. That's on the list here. The weight of overall or undergrad versus graduate GPA. The way the TMDSES reports it to us is we see the overall. I counted it once. but I don't know. We see the GPA in 16 or 20 different ways. We see overall every course you ever took and how it contributes to the overall GPA. We see your undergrad path. We see if you did dual credit, AP credit, community college hours. We see semester by semester overall. We see semester by semester science and non-science, and we see graduate work in a program, and then post-bac work. Okay, so we look at it all. When we see a trend for the positive, a lot of us start out college, we don't know what the heck we're doing, and we make all C's, and then we like buckle down, do something differently, and learn how to do it better along the way. So when we see a rising trend, that's excellent. This is a way for me to also plug Texas Fresh Start. Texas has a program to help people. If you went to school a while back and didn't do very well, there's a program where you can wipe out grades from 10 years before the entry year of your graduate program. So reach out and ask if you have questions about that. Okay, I think I'm done with that question. Tell me if you want any more explanation. Micah, hi.
Hi. So my question was just kind of, I know it's individual for person to person, but when looking at metrics, when do schools kind of prefer post-bac work versus graduate work?
Yeah. So I think that's not a number point on a number line. You know, I can't tell you at what GPA or anything. You have to look and see what's good for you. We have a couple of certificate programs. The one at UNT, the one in Washington, D.C. are excellent special master's programs type things. They call them a lot of different things. In some of them, you are taking coursework with medical students. So we know that that's a rigorous educational activity, and that would be a good thing. All good things are good. But you might want to work on a real master's degree in chemistry, physiology, something that you're enjoying. You have to love it. So research things and do what looks fun and worthwhile to you. Okay. Some of them have MCAT prep and that kind of thing. So explore those. And you want to ask. You're very welcome. What their record is for most meaningful. Oh yeah, that's interesting. So I think I would pick another thing. So if you have an activity that you're going to list and you're going to note it as something that is most meaningful. Sorry, if it's like a big deal for you and you're going to put it in your personal statement, I wouldn't put it again in most meaningful. I'd find another, because those are just smaller areas to write about, just a little additional space. So that's what I would do. I think I skipped one. I skipped several, I think. Okay, y'all are blowing up the chat with questions. Let me find where I am. So enroll in a post-bac program. Is there a way we can communicate our metrics? So we will see it. We do allow applicants to tell us about updates throughout the cycle. And if you're interviewed, you can upload grades and things. That's a good point, though. If you are entering a graduate program, if you start an application in May, June, July, and August, you're going to start a program, we will not see those grades. You know, so maybe that's not your year. Maybe you have a great year, attend to your academic rigor, and then apply the next year. Competitive MCAT for us. So our average is a 517.6 something, and our range is probably a 508 to a top like 527, 28. The Texas average is a 512. The national average is a 512. So I think you're informed with those numbers, and you should aim as high as you can. We've got 2 previous videos on the YouTube channel from students 4 and 5 at each setting, 2 different hours worth of tips from the pros. Those are students who increased their MCAT points by MCAT score by at least 10 points. And you should hear their tips on how they did it. And a couple of them increased them like 14 points and stuff like that. So letter writers from last year. So very rarely is a letter a problematic thing. The vast majority of letters are complimentary to you. So I think you can use them. If it's been a while, and you're in a new activity, for example, you're reapplying and now you've got a scribing job, but that's not one of your letters from your supervisor, you would want one of your work supervisors to do, write a letter for you. But lots of times it's perfectly fine. And TMDSAS lets that letter writer redate it, just kind of as an update. And then that will be fine. I didn't mention AI. AI is like bursting all over the place. Is that better? AI is everywhere. I don't think I need to tell you, you would never, ever, ever use a bot to write your personal statement. You know, I do think you can use, people need to read your personal statement. There are writing centers and people that help you. I guess there's an argument for if you're using a bot and you put in there tons of detail and they write it for you and you edit it or redraft, I guess, I don't know. I just think it ought to be authentic. Schools are talking about it a lot. Some schools are eliminating the personal statement because they think that applicants are going to abuse that. I don't think our committee does not want to do that. And I think everybody trusts you and your integrity. So, but I'm just putting it out there. You should not be using bots. Let me get these questions. So Joshua, you want to go? What's your question?
Okay, sorry. Is that working? All right. Yeah, so I was fixing to ask, I see there's a lot of questions in the meeting chat, and I know that I can kind of think of questions like on the fly. Like in 2 days, I'll probably come up with a question that I'd like to ask. So I was wondering if there is a way for us to get in contact with anyone at Long School of Medicine to ask those questions in case we don't have time to answer them here, or in case we think of any in the future.
Yes. So we can, I'll share my email with you. It's easy to find. It's on the website, and we'll do that. And I think it's not a month, it's May, but it's early May. We're doing another one, and that's going to be just an open forum for you to ask questions. And what we'll do is we will save this chat and answer the questions. If you're unable to make it, please just reach out. So I'll put mine in the chat. This is an interesting question, Caitlin. I'm glad you asked. Do we have a way to report AAMC preview? I think we have to sign up. We do not want a person spending money on the preview and spending money on the Casper. We would take both. The vast majority of our applicants are going to be have the Casper exam, but we can find out for you. Belinda, I think we need to sign up. I think we need to tell AAMC that they could release it to us, right? So we'll see if we can still do that. If you are an applicant and you have taken the preview, we don't want you to take another situational judgment test like the Casper. We will save you $100, and you could just, I guess, forward the score yourself to us or something like that.
Thank you.
Yes, you're very welcome. Writing about the description. Oh yeah, I did that one, sorry. Yeah, I would, if it's been more than 3 years, to find, excuse me, a science professor or somebody from school, I would focus on more current activities. Somebody that you're shadowing, a healthcare activity, a volunteer supervisor, a work or lab supervisor, I think would be better. Do you have advice from out of state? No, we did not talk about that, about out of staters. And we love our out-of-staters. There's a video on the YouTube on our Long School of Medicine Interview Day channel, which gives you more information about the process. And there's one called We Love Our Out-of-Staters. So we love our out-of-staters. We're allowed by Texas legislation to accept 10% of the student body is from out of state. Usually we can pick up on the out-of-state connection. And sometimes people use that optional third essay to say, I've spent much time in Texas here and there, although I'm, a New Jersey resident. Here's what I know and love about Texas. We also it's kind of a no-brainer for us. If you've been to a Texas school for undergrad for 4 years, we kind of understand the tie. We will see that. We will see if you worked here when you list the locations, right? But it doesn't hurt to tell us, and it doesn't hurt to send an email to our general mailbox that says, I just wanted to emphasize my Texas ties. Okay. But if you don't have any, you know, but you've worked with people like we see in our San Antonio community and things like that. We have a big refugee population, a large Hispanic population, a lot of people in need. If we see connections in your profile like that, then that would hold a lot of value by itself. Let's see. Out of state or out of so I'm looking at that. So an academic dismissal, GPA. Yeah. So I think it will. I think that's going to take a lot of thought. I don't have an easy answer for you. I think you need to be honest, and you need to really focus on what lessons you have learned. It might be that, so the overall GPA is going to matter. That's what everybody sort of sees at the top with your, demographics and then your metrics. So you might need to work on that a little bit. I would need to know more about the timeline, and maybe Fresh Start would help you. So maybe you can reach out and we can get more specific. We like committee letters. We like HPAC letters. They're fine. What we're looking for in any letter of recommendation, ask for the handout. On letters of recommendation, we're looking at personal attributes. We see your grades, we see all the experiences listed. And what we're looking for is this person has known you longer than we know you. So what do they say are your personal attributes? Okay. I don't know where it is on this machine, but I can just send you like all the things. Belinda, are you with me? Could you, there's a thing under the pre-med handouts. It's like all the things, and you're welcome. I'm going to give you the gift of all the things, and some of their handouts. There are a million handouts all put together. And I think it says all handouts or all pre-med handouts, something like that. It's pretty new. There's a ton of information in there, just a ton. And if you'll look through, you might find some more specifics and things. And there are 2 pages on letter of recommendation and what we're looking for, and the usefulness mostly is personal attributes, because we see everything else. Your personal attributes from the perspective of somebody who's known you longer. Thanks, Belinda. We'll see if we can. I'm not sure where I put it at this point, but I think it's under the big folder. Post-bac courses, wanting to know if I should take more at a university versus a community college. Just a couple of points to make. I think that there is a stereotype, and I don't think it's a fair stereotype about community college work. I think that there is a bias out there that community college work might not be as rigorous as you need to experience for medical school. Do you all understand? I'm trying to be very non-judgmental about that, because I don't believe that that's necessarily true. So what I would say, I went to community college. I took calculus, like many things. I started calculus 3 times back in the day when it was a requirement. The first 2, it was like alien language to me. It was like Mars language. I didn't get it, but I found a really good teacher at Houston Community College, and I got to start to understand it, and that helped me. that helped me. But it took somebody like that who could like walk backwards with me a little bit to get me forward. I think there are some great teachers and courses out there. So I would say that that is perfectly fine. You do need to experience academic rigor. So when you find that you're making A's in your academic rigor in your coursework, rather, you need to challenge yourself and take a more rigorous course so you can see what that's like and still challenge yourself to make A's. So I think those are some significant components to that. Great question. Yes, I think one volunteer organization, one volunteer might have all kinds of things. I think long-term experiences, I think Big Brothers Big Sisters is one of the best things you can do. Their requirements are minimal. It's, can you do something monthly? Can you do it for about a year? And it's a great activity. It's long-term. Sometimes you're really putting a lot of good into the world with a long-term activity and getting a lot out of it. So I think that is a good thing. So lack of longevity, if you've got activities where it was 4 hours here, completely different thing, 2 hours here, completely different thing, 6 hours here, that looks kind of choppy. I think we're going to see some of that. Tell us the meaning, tell us what you got out of those 4 hours. So that's the only caution, but we already kind of talked about that. If you've got some miscellaneous things here and there, remember we said we could combine them and just say miscellaneous healthcare, miscellaneous community service, and list them that way. You are very welcome. Are more than 3 MCAT attempts frowned upon? No, I don't think so. I'm sorry. I think Pratyushka, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. I think you had your hand up and I was reading chat and ignoring you. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Okay, so that's a great question. Our committee says, look at this person, they really want to be a doctor. So we look at it as a mark of motivation and passion for this. It doesn't look so good when you have taken it 3 times and nothing changes. We don't even care if it goes down 1 point or so on the second exam, but you take it. So if you have 490 and then a 490 and then a 497, I don't even, it's coming up barely, then something's wrong that you need to identify to help you get back up in the numbers, So it doesn't look so great if you're taking multiple attempts and staying at the same score. You need to reach out and find resources to help you.
Understood. Thank you so much.
Yes, you're very welcome. And I also think I'm going to say some MCAT things. Maybe I'll just do a little video about MCAT stuff. Although there's lots on our channel. You need to be like, who wants to take it the 3rd time, right? Nobody wants to take it a 2nd time. You want to just be done with it. And that's why sometimes we just ignore it and like go with that one when we should be working on it. You need to be positive about the attack. I'm telling you, just from personal experience, I didn't know what I was doing and didn't work hard on how to attack a plan to do better at the MCAT. You need to be positive. You need to stop doing the quiz yourself. Stop doing the Anki on biology that you love and you're so good at it and you get the quiz right, and you need to work on the physics that you hate because you're not good at it and that's harder for you. So you need to do the stuff that you're not liking. That means you need to work on so many things, like a positive attitude about it. I love physics. I'm going to do physics today. I'm going to study physics for the MCAT today. I love it. I'm going to do so great. And when that little voice says, I hate it, then you just like be louder and say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. When you are positive and smiling, look at the superpowers video. When you are a positive and smiling person, I think people should laugh and smile before you study because it turns on learning centers. Right. And it just like helps you. So you need to have a positive attitude. And if you're working against test anxiety and timing and test taking strategies, you need to work on those like actively, proactively, and not just wing it. You need to look up resources and improve those things. Joshua, thanks, Belinda.
Yeah, sorry, I had one more question. This also kind of goes to Caitlin's question in the chat. She was asking about doctors who are willing to have pre-med shadow them. But I think the other week, AAMC had their big
Virtual fair.
yeah, that's it. I forgot the name of it. Anyways, there's a section there for prehealthshadowing.com. I think it's an online virtual shadowing option. What's Long School of Medicine's thoughts on virtual shadowing?
Yeah, well, we'd much rather you have done something. And there, if you go to YouTube and put in shadowing, medical shadowing, you'll get a zillion hits. There are some organizations, UT Southwestern has one that is more of a doctor telling you about their specialty. I think you can you can do all kinds of things online, and you log those hours. You log what you're learning in those hours that you're spending, and then you'll see the value and can tell us about the value. Okay. But I really think you should try hard. I think it's in the shadowing video that's online on the channel, where we had a little discussion, and I just asked everybody in the room to put in the chat for everybody else, where did you get your shadowing activity? Because I really don't right now have good lists or things except for the virtual ones. Okay. So make the most out of it. Go in with questions that you want answered. How do doctors make decisions? What in their field, what are the most common diagnoses? What are the common testing elements that they do for those for people with those disorders and diseases, that kind of thing. So I would say make the most of it.
Okay, thank you.
You're so welcome. Anything else? So I think, Caitlin, a great thing, if you can, is to do part-time shadowing. You're making money. It's the closest thing a pre-med can do to being a physician. You're watching physicians with patients every day. So if that's possible, or do it for one summer, let that be your summer job, shadowing full-time for months at a time. And I know a lot of them allow shadowing. Let's do, so yeah, I don't know. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Okay, so great. Pratyusha has an idea for you in the chat. Volunteering gets you in a healthcare place. The hospital gets you connected with doctors that you can then ask. So absolutely, Victoria, thank you. That's the message. Language learning, anything learning, ukulele learning can be posted in your extracurricular section. I'm teaching myself the banjo. We had one of those once. I'm teaching myself Spanish. My family is from XYZ place. I'm trying to learn our language because I never learned it growing up. Those are absolutely, you don't have to be just very accomplished at it. Learning means you're trying and striving and all that. You are so welcome. So this is so interesting. So Long School of Medicine, we do not really discriminate, delineate healthcare into non-clinical and clinical. What we do look for, we think there's value when you are in a room with a physician who's taking care of a patient and their family. Okay, so do you call that clinical? I don't think that's what you call clinical. I think you're calling a phlebotomy tech clinical, or a pharmacy tech clinical. So we don't, so all those things are good and they have value as well. But if you did 100 hours of shadowing, zillion hours of scribing because it was your summer job, we are then not, in addition, we are not looking also for you to be a phlebotomist or things like that. Do you get it? Is that definition correct? Do you see what I'm saying? Okay. You are welcome. You are welcome. You're very welcome. I hope I'm going to do, so we're going to I'm going to answer this last question about research and invite you all back for the web chat next month. Okay, Shayla, I'll do yours too. So hang in there. Research is not a deal breaker for Long School of Medicine. Remember that shoebox folder on your desktop? Somewhere in there is going to be what schools want. What does each school individually say is important to them or not? Research is not a deal breaker for us. If we see that you've got healthcare experiences and a ton of community service, zero research, we know that you're going to maybe use your medical education for good in communities maybe and service. If we see tons of research, enough healthcare to know what you're into and maybe little community service, we know that you're going to give with your medical education as a medical scientist. Okay, so we're not looking for a formula. You don't have to be even Steven in all the areas. It's your journey. Tell us what your strengths are, and we will see your strengths by those components of the biography. Okay, Shayla, last question.
Oh my goodness. So sorry, Dr. K. How are you doing today?
Good. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well. I was actually going to go off of the research experience to see if it was encouraged by Long Medical School. But you kind of just answered my question.
Okay, yeah. We're fine with zero. Zero research for us is not a deal breaker at all. And we have applicants who sometimes are a little bit of an underseller, or they haven't thought through all of the things that they've done. So we see zero leadership. Well, that's not a deal breaker for us either, because we might see leadership qualities in that person, problem solving, flexibility, great communication skills, and things like that. So
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Okay, so it's been wonderful to have y'all, and we'll see you next time. We'll send you the link for the next month's registration. Belinda, thank you for being here. I appreciate it so much, and we'll see y'all the next time. Take care. Do good things.